My name is Cami. I am Korean. I was adopted from Korea, and I want to share my adoption experience. And it's true, all adoptees have different experiences. Some are good, some are bad, some are born from other countries. But I want to clarify why my family is great. I have a sister. We're both from Korea, but we're not adopted. We're not related. She's adopted too. So, to start, my father had wanted a baby for a really long time, and they finally decided to go ahead with it. They saw my name and my picture in the paper, and at the time, I had a Korean name. A Korean official had given me the name. I thought it was interesting, so they went ahead with it, and they got a social worker to come to the home, to sort of check it out, make sure it's a good home, interview my parents, and they were approved. So they have more, specific questions and information because at the time it was illegal for deaf parents to adopt a hearing baby because people assumed that they couldn't raise a hearing baby. Well, clearly it's not true. And at the time I was 10 months old and I would sit and the phone would ring. I would look at it. So the doctor thought, it's hearing. So remember that was the test a long time ago. And they told my parents, you cannot adopt her. And of course my parents were heartbroken, and more tests later revealed I am in fact deaf, and my parents were relieved. And so I have the deaf gene, so my relatives are all deaf. We've got the deaf gene. Anyway, that day I flew to Chicago. My parents went to Chicago. We got there, and you couldn't have both parents go into the plane. You had to have one go in and one wait outside. So my mom went in, and she saw all the babies in rows, and she's thinking, which one is me? And she sees one that's, all these babies are crying and freaking out, but one baby was quiet. Mom was like, you know what? I think that's it. She checked my wristband, and she was right. That was my name. She brought me home, and my parents followed my Korean diet, so they would feed me all this Korean food, just, to make sure my stomach wasn't going to be upset. And I grew up and became a U.S. citizen at 3 years old. It was interesting. It was $150 to become a U.S. citizen, and, it was much cheaper then. Anyway, I was very young when we went to court, and I was too young to take the test, so they would ask my mother the questions. She would answer for me, and it was made for a child, so mom passed it easy. Who was the first president of the United States? It was easy test, so she passed it. And it was approved. I was a U.S. citizen. I went to a deaf school, and that experience was sort of tough for me, because a while ago, adults, they had their right roles, their right practices, how they teach children. And many of these people were white. The people working at the school were white, and, it was sort of insulting to me. Thought I was stupid, and I think maybe I was like between 5 and 9 when all this happened, so I would go home and I would just cry about it and feel, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with being different? I wanted to be white, but I'm thinking, why do I have to be Korean? And of course now I love being Korean. A while ago it was just, not so great. My identity wasn't as strong. I was sort of insecure, but now it's more accepted. People are diverse. People are very accepting. They've got their right practices and how to teach kids, and they've got the proper curriculum and roles and stuff, and times are different. So my parents always were very open about my adoption experience. They would explain everything to me, and show me my paperwork, my birth mother, and I thought it was interesting, show me my parents' names right there. So my birth mother, why she gave me away. Well, she was 20. My father was 21. Father was 5'10". My mother was 4'9". They're both really short people. And my mom became pregnant, and, she felt she wasn't ready. And in that culture, they look down on deaf mothers. You have to give away your babies, and it's different here. Maybe I want to meet them, but it could be nice. But, I'm satisfied. So I think there's a lot of things that happen to me that are interesting. So I'm going to talk for a minute. Oftentimes, my friends or people, they still sign, you know, Chinese, Korean, Japanese with these sort of old offensive signs shown here, and it's offensive, you know? There's China, there's Korea, Japan shown like this. You don't sign these old ones because they're, offensive. Also, I get asked this question a lot. People often ask me, where were you born? Where are you from? Are you from somewhere other country? They assume that I'm a foreigner. Well, some Koreans are born here. They're Americans. Not all of them are born over there. So I'm curious why people ask, you don't ask white people, where were you born? I think it's just one of those, is the question, It's how some people ask, maybe. But I do get that question a lot. Oftentimes they'll ask me, you know, are you going to have kids? Or, it's very personal questions. Some people are very open. They don't care. They're fine. But if you're willing, go ahead. You don't have to be willing to answer these things. That's fine. If we're close, that's okay, Then maybe you can ask, are you going to have kids, or where are you from? But if you're very blunt about it, just asking these things, it can be insulting. Really, all of us are, there's different ways of having kids, so, you don't need to ask about IVF and all that stuff. It's just it's those questions. People often ask me, are you Northern or Southern Korean? So, people think if you're born in the North, you're stuck over there. North Koreans can't leave. They want to leave, but you have to do it in secret, and that's wrong. There's not labor camps and stuff for these kids. That's not exactly right, But that's it. Thank you.